You guys know how the Legend of Korra kind of fucked everything up for Avatar to the point where even if they go back to the universe and other mediums like a comic book, they still can't get shit right because of how badly the Avatar universe was butchered by the series. Well, you would think that Michael, and Brian would have learned a thing or two about getting pushed out of the Netflix show, since they did leave, but it's clear that they were not the ones in control, and that's why they left. So you'd think they'd be a little bit scorned to coming back to Netflix and Nickelodeon for that matter, considering other things. But no. Instead of leaving the Avatar universe dead, because at this point, death is better than just seeing it reiterated upon and bullshit. Reiterated on and bullshit is exactly what they're going to do with Avatar from now on. Because Nickelodeon launches an Avatar Studio. Yes, Avatar Studios, a studio dedicated specifically to animated Avatar content. Please kill me. I'm not joking. And guess who will be helming it? Bryke. The same idiots who ruined Avatar. They've ruined their own universe. Aaron Ehaz won't be back. And they're bringing back the original cast. Meaning, Avatar will either get treated like an MCU, where things will make no sense, and despite the fact you may have good stuff in between, everything will be really dumb. Or it will be a whole Teen Titans Go thing. And that's the one I fear the most. That it's going to go full Teen Titans Go and just be a conduit for the writers to bash anybody with a differing opinion, which is basically what Teen Titans Go has devolved into, trying to troll the original fans of Teen Titans using the original cast. Yeah, this is disgusting. Alright, first off, Korra ended on a really bad note. And I'm not talking about Korrasami. I'm talking about the whole series just ended on a bad note. Everything in the world seemed to be worse off than it was in Avatar. When you had Avatar: The Last Airbender, everything was starting to be worked out. The Fire Lord was defeated. There was a new Fire Lord in the form of Zuko that was going to help fix things with the rest of the world. Aang was a fully realized Avatar. You had the sense that everything was building up towards something great. And it was being done in peace. Meanwhile, in Korra, you have fucking mecha robots and all this other bullshit, and you have the portals opening, and, oh, big giant Cthulhu monster that totally isn't a Cthulhu monster. You have all of these things that come up to make conflicts, and it always makes the world worse. And so the world of Avatar is kind of fucked in that aspect. It's not just that, it's fucked up in lore. Everything about the lore has been raped and butchered for no reason at all. Everything about it has been fucked. And now here we are, we're half a decade on since the end of the series, since Korra ended. And in the meantime, Bryke has put out comics that have not been received well by anyone, and when they're received well, it's by morons who know nothing about the word writing and are only there for bait shipping with the gays. And I'm a gay too. I'm a half gay, but it's very clear that the comics were not done for anything of a storytelling potential. It was only done despite the people who said Korrasami was a major ass pull, which it was. And I will still die on that hill. It's as much of an ass pull as Karoshin in fucking Neon Genesis Evangelion, because it absolutely is an ass pull. It literally comes out of nowhere. There's barely anything to support it. And there are rabid diehards about it that will try to beat the shit out of you online if you talk shit about it. So it's been very clear for a while now, Bryke has not really cared about actually telling good stories and only care about spreading virtues. Which is one of the reasons why, whenever you see stuff like a Korrasami out there, people tend to get irritated. Because it's like, wait, why? Why not just make good characters first and make what they like second? You can do that, you know. And so, already, I have no faith that this is going to work with anything about Korra, because if they're going to continue to do Korra, why is Nickelodeon even coming to this conclusion that we need an Avatar Studios in the first place? Is it because of the Netflix Avatar series? Because even then, that's been met with scorn ever since it was announced, because everybody assumes, oh, it's going to end up like another M. Night Shyamalan, and it might. We don't know yet, but the production has been noted as being a complete disaster at this point. So things aren't so good. Things are not good around that aspect. But it's not just that worries me, that they're going to further legitimize Korra. It's that they're going to further legitimize Korra by connecting Korra to Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is what they are going to do, even though the Legend of Korra, by all accounts, is Bryke making Avatar their own, since they were not the people who, while they did write a lot of the episodes of the original show, they were not the head writer. They were not the guy who literally put the universe in motion. That was Aaron Ehaz, and he has not been there since Avatar ended. Now, if this was done with the express purpose of making a book 4, and maybe you could use the comics as a base for that, since the comics did take concepts from an Avatar book 4 and put it there, but that's not what they're gonna do. They're announcing multiple things to come out of this for Avatar and Korra. And so that makes me think they're trying to do a branching paths thing. It's kind of an ass pull to more so connect Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra together to try to patch up the massive gaping holes that Book 2 and Book 1 of Korra made for the series. Alright, everything about Rava and Vatu, all that bullshit, the full moon thing in Book 1 of Korra, where you can bloodbend at a full moon, but not actually anymore if you're that powerful of a psychic deity. That type of bullshit. And the portals. The stuff that wouldn't exist in Avatar, that didn't exist in Avatar, that's there now. And they're going to try to do something. They're going to make Aang an edgy boy. I can most certainly tell you that. Even though Aang was certainly not edgy. Even when confronted with horrible, horrible shit in his path, he was never edgy. Sure, he got depressed at times. Sure, he lashed out. But he was never an edgy boy. They're going to make him an edgy boy. And then they're going to try to do whatever they can to try to make Korrasami legitimate, because, it only had, 2 seconds of screen time at the end of the series. So, once again, I have no faith that this is being done as an actual storytelling thing, as something to make good stories from. Because the last few times that they've done anything with this story, it's been absolute shit. Like, the last time Avatar had a legitimately good story on screen was the Equalist plot, and even then, there's a lot of problems with that. And they also ruined it in the same season. I have no faith in this. This is not being done to actually stimulate people intellectually, to put forth any type of nuance. This is all being done to stroke egos and to spread virtues. And that's really disappointing. And it's also just driving further into the nail into the coffin of Avatar. Avatar died. Avatar probably died as soon as the M. Night Shyamalan movie came out. Alright, I'm just going to say it now. I don't want to say it, but I think that's what started the catalyst. Because while people were still in love with the Avatar universe, that movie kind of put a hindrance on whether or not a mainstream audience would really get into it. And then after Book 1 of Korra, everything went so downhill with the ratings for the show. And then Book 2 happened, and it almost universally drove people away. And then people came back for 3 and 4. It's like, they're not that good. Book 3 is probably the best book in Korra, and even then it's got a boatload of problems on its own, and it breaks the lore just as badly as 2. And then Book 4 tries to turn it into Neon Genesis Evangelion out of nowhere. Like, why? Like, there's just so many fucking problems with Korra now. It's not trying to be a well-written show with a well-developed world, great characters. It's trying to appeal to everyone, but the problem in trying to appeal to everyone, since people haven't apparently learned from EA on this, is that you try to appeal to everyone, you will get no one if you are half-assing it. And that's exactly what they've done. Bryke really have no clue as to really piece a serious story together. They're not that good at it. They're really not that good at it. And, you know, they've had some disdain towards the fan base for the writing decisions. Not as bad as what the Kruby did with Ruby, because, you know, Miles Luna's the chief beta bitch ass that he is, whining about people who are remotely, even in any capacity, criticizing his show. Could be legitimate criticism. He treats it just as badly as fucking illegitimate criticism. They do that same thing too. They've outright called their fans homophobes for not liking Korrasami. I mean, they literally made comics just to spite people. How can you see what these guys have done in the medium of storytelling since Avatar ended and go, this is good? This is good news? This is horrible news. Because now Avatar is going to get milked. But the difference between Avatar and things that have been milked lately, like Star Wars, at least with Star Wars, you had at least a base foundation. Alright, you had 40 years since the last movie, but more than 40 years since the original came out. You haven't developed the story of Luke beyond books. You have all this potential. Now, they squandered that potential, but it didn't seem like that at first to most people. But then you have something like Avatar, and the last time we left off on anything Avatar related, everything was squandered. You're not building on a steady foundation. You're building on a mudslide. One wrong move, everything's going to come crashing down. And, you know, that's honestly what Avatar's been on for a long time. It's been on a downward spiral into suck. Which is sad, considering this is one of the greatest kid shows, quite possibly the greatest kid show ever made. There's so much detail put into the original show. So much nuance, the level of complexity with the characters. It's unlike anything you really put into a kid's medium. And it's been handled irresponsibly ever since it ended. You don't have that anymore. And it really sucks. Now maybe, hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe they'll bring back Aaron Ehaz and everything will be fine. He'll look at Korra and say, fuck that. We ain't doing that shit. You guys completely fucked everything up. But then again, he's still on the other Netflix show. And it don't look like he's leaving. And it also makes me think, if he won't leave to come back to Avatar when they create an entire studio for it, maybe there's some bad blood between him and Bryke. Maybe he was forced out. That's just speculation, of course. Maybe it isn't true. Maybe it is true. We don't know that. But still, it is bad that he was never really consulted. They could have consulted him on this thing, considering he was the mastermind behind the universe. Sure, maybe Bryke were the ones handling more of the character interaction stuff, handling most of the major dialogue. But Aaron was the guy who made the story. He was the guy who made this universe. And it's really sad that he's not getting the credit he's really deserved. It's not just that. Now that they're bringing the original cast back, I don't envision anything. Like, it's really just being done for fan service. That's what really all of this is. It's just fan service. They're just trying to milk the franchise dry. Viacom's trying to get every bit of milk out of that titty. Till there's nothing left, and then they can finally shelve Avatar for good. Because that's what I think this is. They're trying to make shit. Lose some money, get out of that tax bracket. And then just shelve Avatar. Because you got franchises, gaming franchises that were once great, shelved what it looks like for good by other companies because they barely put any effort into it. Like Duke Nukem. Fucking Take-Two. You got all this stuff going around with Halo. You haven't had a mainline Halo game in 6 years, coincidentally, around the same time as Korra ended. And it looks like Infinite is going to be a giant pile of shit. I hate to say that, but that's what it looks like. Star Trek, even, hasn't had a proper show in fucking decades. Enterprise ended. There hasn't been anything of quality since. The TNG movies, ass. The fucking J.J. Abrams movies, even more ass. And the new shows like Discovery and Picard, outright betrayals of Gene Roddenberry. Honestly, if you guys want to do something else with these guys, with Mike and Brian, just do something else. Make your own fucking shit. Hell, go back to Invader Zim. At least you guys know how to do something with that. Right, make something unique. Stop going back to the well that has been sapped dry. I'm telling you, the only people who will ever come back to Avatar now, after Korra Book 4, after these stupid-ass turf wars, and after all the drama, you're only going to have the diehards that were convinced by Korra, and that is a very small section of the community of Avatar. And even then, more and more people are getting convinced that Korra is a travesty of storytelling, and a travesty to the world of Avatar. And it also leads into a segue. I found my old DVD copy of Book 1 of The Legend of Korra. And I'm recording it all for a review. It's time that Book 1 be given the proper ripping open of butthole that it really needed. For me, at least. ER's did his thing, everybody else has done their thing. I want to get back into that. That's not going to be fun, but it has to be done. But yeah, every time I see something like this, I dread it. Because Viacom clearly doesn't have any faith in Avatar. I mean, they tried to pull it from fucking TV and put it directly on streaming before the whole streaming nonsense started. Right? They were meddling, but let's not forget, Avatar was still under the full creative control of Michael DiMartino and Bryke and Nickelodeon. These guys are the guys not to fully blame, but to mostly blame for how Avatar has diminished in quality. Alright, I'm not going to buy the excuse that, they were on a tight deadline. There are people who have made great things on tight deadlines. People with talent who are cognizant enough to try to work around their own limitations, which is how Avatar was actually made at first. But they didn't do that. These guys don't work well under pressure. And if they're under as much pressure as they were when making the 4 books of Korra, it's going to be worse. Hopefully, it just goes away, though. They'll do something and then it gets disbanded almost immediately. Let's hope for that. Let's just keep Avatar dead in the ground. Do not resurrect it as a fucking zombie. Just leave it be. It's done. Unless somebody else can come in and make a really damn good story around Avatar again, I really don't see any reason to come back to Avatar. I will still watch Avatar: Last Airbender, and I will still love it, but I will not come back for anything new for Avatar. I don't want to. But it seems like I might have to.